to history to understand how previous governments have handled things like this. After the Nigerian Civil War, there were a lot of arms in Nigeria. The head of state in Nigeria at the time was General Gowon. His approach to crime in Nigeria was what he called the barbecue show. He took the criminals, put them on a stake, and had them shot at the barbecue. That worked for a while. And then he said, well, he killed them, but his relatives and the families of these criminals did not know they were being killed. So he said, if you're from Kano and you committed a crime, I will kill you in your village in Kano. If you're from Anambra, I'll do the same. If you're from Bayelsa, I'll do the same. So they started taking the criminals to their villages and had them shot there. Now, I cannot remember exactly if it solved the problem of crime in Nigeria, but that's what Gowon did in the 70s. That was his way of solving crime after the Civil War when there were a lot of arms in the country. Now, you go back 30 years to today, where there's kidnapping. One of the biggest problems we have is we have no deterrent. For instance, if somebody is kidnapped and you actually capture the man who kidnapped you, you do not have a show trial. So really, how do you tell someone who is thinking of kidnapping that is a bad idea? Because you don't put him on trial, you don't publicize the trial, you don't let him know the consequence of his action, you don't tell him and have his family, his wife, his children there and say, look, I'm putting you on trial. It'll be a show trial, television cameras everywhere. Everybody sees the consequence of kidnapping. After a 6-month trial for the attorneys here today, then we say you'll be shot, you'll be hanged, or you'll be in jail for 50 years. Then there's a consequence for that action. Right now, there is no consequence. I know for a fact that if the police catch a bad guy, they take you to the back and they have you shot. Okay, that's fine. But how do you stop the next person commit a crime? If you shot him, you think you stopped one person committed another crime, but 1 million other people are willing to commit the crime because they don't know they're going to be shot anyway. So we have a problem and there's no consequence for bad behavior. So first of all, the report must deal with the consequence for bad behavior. Then the report must also look at what happened when General Gowon was head of state. What happened when he shot people at the bar beach and he shot people in your villages for committing those crimes? Was there any deterrent? We need to get in touch with sociologists. We need to get in touch with psychologists. It is a social problem. Then it's a criminal problem. Then it is a legal problem. But all this must be looked after in the report. Then we need to understand that one of the biggest problems in Nigeria today, why people are not scared of committing crime, is the issue of drugs. It is a very serious problem. I've spoken to my colleagues. They tell me in their states, everybody is snuffing something. A lot of Nigerians today are on drugs. When you're on drugs, you don't think. You don't understand the consequence of your action. We have a serious drug problem in Nigeria. And I raise this issue because everybody says, okay, people don't just wake up in the morning and start kidnapping or start committing crimes or get an AK-47. There's a reason why you do that. And we need to understand the reason why people have such behavior. It is not natural. When God created the world, God did not say there'll be more criminals in Nigeria than Japan. That's not the case. But we in government must do something special to make sure we have less criminals in Nigeria than Japan. And the only way to do that is to deal with the social issues. And then to make it worse, our lifestyles. If we live an exorbitant lifestyle in a poor country, then we attract attention when we shouldn't. But please, my colleagues, I beg you, we need to deal with the drug problem. We need to deal with the consequence of our actions. We need to have show trials so people who commit these crimes are put on television. Once they are put on television and they are found guilty, there has to be consequences. Policemen who find these criminals should have them prosecuted. The American embassy now have a big team of FBI agents in Nigeria. The FBI agents represent Americans who are kidnapped in Nigeria because they feel safer if FBI agents negotiate with the kidnappers to resolve problems. So now what is happening is embassies are bypassing our law enforcement officials and governments are coming into this country to negotiate with kidnappers to protect their citizens. This is a very serious problem and it has implications with trade, it has implications with investments, it has implications with the way we live. Nigerians today send their kids to go to school abroad because they want to feel safe. They want to go to bed at night not thinking the kids are not going to get shot or get killed or get kidnapped. Those who are rich do that. So I urge my colleagues to look at the report one more time. I do not feel the report is detailed enough. I do not feel it has covered all the areas it ought to. I think it should be revisited. We should speak to embassies who currently negotiate with kidnappers. We should speak to General Gowon and all those who were in government in the 70s, because let me tell you, 1 million people died at the Nigerian Civil War. But when the war ended, we had a problem in Nigeria as bad as what kidnapping is right now. But the government, the military government at the time, found a way to solve the problem. Armed robbery after January 12, 1970 was something else in this country. It was a dangerous place to live. But General Gowon and his government found a way, Murtala Mohammed, to solve that problem. We need to go back in history and find out how it was done. In those days, it was only NT and FRCN. But the publicity machinery to solve those problems was such that it did a fantastic job. We need to revisit that era and come back and learn from the experience of those who have led us.
Center